Welcome to Morning Infusion with Dr. V, where we are intentional about connecting you with leaders that have overcome so that you know that the possibilities are endless. It's Dr. V here, where our coaching program teaches nurses to work from their computers around the world, making money and owning their own time. Our featured guest today is Fallon Lopez. Fallon is a registered nurse, certified wellness coach, nature enthusiast, and dog mama from Houston, Texas. She is the first nurse in her Latina family, currently working as a pre-kidney transplant coordinator. Her passion for empowering nurses holistically comes from her own recovery from war, injury, and burnout. She now helps nurses create healthier habits so that they can live in a whole body empowerment through the power of spiritual growth, mindset, and self-care. So welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, Dr. B. I'm excited to be here.
So now tell us what was the primary reason that you decided to go into nursing, which I thought was interesting.
Yes. So my primary reason was just to stay out of trouble and to make money. I knew it was a dependable job. Being a nurse, we're always going to have job availability. There's always going to be a need. And so for me, growing up where I grew up in Houston, Texas, with immigrant mom from Nicaragua, education is very important. You have to go back to school. You have to make something of yourself. You have to make the family proud. And so just that was somewhere they felt would fit my personality. I was a helper. And so they recommended go to a nursing school. And I was like, okay, sure, it'll pay the bills. It's dependable. Okay, it wasn't like a natural calling to it. I would say like some nurses, they're so inspired to say, which is awesome for them. But I just got in where I fit in, honestly.
Yeah, I was kind of like that. So the story for me is that I wanted to be an engineer. My mom was like, we don't have enough money to send you to that big old university. You're going to have to go to community college. And so we're going to have to find out a way for you to become something that you may not know that you're going to become. And so it's like nursing is good for you. And I was like, well, okay, fine. And so that's how I became a nurse as well.
Kind of influence.
That's right. Fell into it. So now you said that you went into nursing. You just did not have a healthy mindset. What do you mean by that?
Yes, that's a great question. I remember saying that, and I was thinking back on it, preparing for this, and I'm thinking like healthy mindset, but also I can't use it in a way to like maybe think like I'm holding myself back or I was held back a little bit. I sometimes feel like because I wasn't, had an American family or the best opportunities. My mom, she's from Nicaragua, that held me back or something. But no, God places us where we're exactly supposed to be. And so when I say healthy mindset or unhealthy mindset, I just didn't have the coping mechanisms, that someone develops over time. Honestly, nurse. Oh no.
Okay. Now,
Thinking,
go ahead.
I went into nursing thinking it was going to lead to one thing, and it was completely different. And so it was a huge reality check for sure. But I went into nursing thinking I was going to save the world. I was going to prove myself as a good Latina nurse. I was going to be a good daughter. I was going to be a good Christian girl, thinking that, nursing was going to fulfill me and make me feel like a good enough human being, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. And it really just set me up for things like burnout. I had no real self-awareness of these things, of these mindset blocks, I didn't have a lot of boundaries. I didn't know how to say no. I didn't know how to say yes. And, just self-esteem things that I needed to work through. And nursing school gave me all of the tools I needed to, help my patients. But as far as like my mindset and mental health, it was definitely kind of just, it wasn't addressed. But I guess also I hid it very well too, So
I think I think it's important for, nurses, especially whenever you're going into the profession, to understand what you just said about boundaries, because those boundaries are huge and important. Because the reality is that what we do is we go into nursing school, just like you said, or we go into the nursing profession, just like you said, and we want to save the world, right?
Mhm.
And so, we think, okay, if I work my 3 shifts and they need help on Saturday, um, I'm going to go and I'm going to help my teammates. And that is all well and good as long as you are able to do that and not take from yourself. And that's what happens a lot of times, is that we do it and we take from ourselves, and we're not pouring from a full cup, we're pouring from an empty cup. And then what happens is we deplete ourselves in the long run, and it just doesn't help us. It doesn't help us. It doesn't help our patients. It doesn't help
Mm.
anyone. And I remember, just thinking that I could not, I was good. I was good. I could go in there and I could work. It was just about work, but it's really not
Mhm.
just about work. It is about really being there for your patient, being present in the moment, being sure that your patients you are able to take care of your patients efficiently and effectively. And you're able to do that, then go home and take care of your family as well. So I
Yeah.
love that you talked about boundaries. Now, then we know that boundaries are important, but you can articulate the importance of boundaries that we have in nursing and in our personal life. Just articulate a little bit more about those boundaries, like how you went outside those boundaries.
Yes. So there's actually 3 types of boundaries. And I learned this from a book, actually, Boundaries by Dr. Cloud, Dr. Townsend. I think I shared it with you.
Mhm.
These 2 Christian psychologists, they wrote more about it. And because of that book, my eyes were open. I was like, what? So the porous boundaries, that's just, like the word porous. They're just open. They're just no boundaries. They always, they don't know how to say no. They just, people pleasers, and their self-worth are based off of people's opinions and things like that. And then the closed boundaries, or also called the rigid boundaries, are the people that, this is also a boundary problem, are people that always say no. They don't know how to let people in. They don't know how to ask for help. They're very withdrawn. So they're those are the 2 boundary problems, the yes people and the people that always say no, pretty much. And then of course, healthy boundaries. That is where someone is able to let the good in, and as well as, letting the bad out. And it's like a fluid balance type of boundary problem. And I was definitely in the porous boundaries, the open boundaries. I was always saying yes. And like you were saying earlier, it didn't help me. I thought I was being kind to my coworkers, being a great employee, being a good Christian girl or a good daughter. But honestly, in all of that, I got lost because I didn't know exactly my where my boundaries are, where my limits are as a person. And that doesn't mean that I'm less. It just does it just meant I didn't really know who I was as a person. Does that make sense?
That makes perfect sense.
So it was easy for me to get lost, and get lost in a big organization like a hospital, get lost in like whatever my parents says, or and I didn't know me as a person. So the yes really didn't help me.
I love it. I love it. And and that's what we do a lot of times, right? Because we think that people want us there. And the reality is that if we're not there, it's okay for us not to be there,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
It's okay. And there's a book by Lisa Turkers that talks about your best yes. And especially when you go into business as a nurse, right? You want to make sure that you have your best yes. And your best yes makes a huge difference, that you want to show up, and you want to show up in excellence, right? And a lot of people, what happens is they show up but they don't show up in excellence. If I show up and I got an attitude, then I mean I might as well stay at home, right?
Yeah.
I
Be
might as
resentful almost. And still
exactly
be upset.
resentful that you have to come in when you're the one that said yes. So what you mad at everybody else for?
Exactly. And that's where the added stress would come from sometimes.
So now you said you felt powerless as a nurse. What did you mean by that? And how were you able to take your power back?
Oh, I love that question. So exactly, like I continuation from the last question that you asked, it caused a lot of stress on my life. I couldn't say yeah, or I couldn't say no. I didn't know my boundaries. I wasn't very self-aware of, how it was affecting me. And I wasn't coping well. I would not cope well. I would honestly, being a young person, things that are around us, alcohol, drugs, relationships, I didn't cope. So for me, that part of like really just growing from that area really helped me to become who a better nurse, just taking care of myself. But in that process, of course, of not coping well, not setting boundaries, not being self-aware, I really began to feel like I had no impact as a healthcare provider, as a healthcare clinician. I wasn't, self-aware where I needed to work on. I knew some strengths, I knew some weaknesses, but I really didn't, have someone or a community. Your community is very important. Those people that pour into you that would, encourage me to grow, encourage me to dig deep. A lot of people, and it's not to fault them, it was just they were trying to survive nursing life as well. They did what they were taught. So I just ended up feeling like I wasn't able to do much. It got to a point where I was just powerless to make a decision for myself, make a decision for my patients, make a decision for as part of a team. It just got to a place where, not coping well, not, having a good mental health, and doing things that I didn't, that really weren't helping my health. Like I would run every day, 5 miles every day. And I would think this was like good, right? I'm exercising, it's stress relief. And I would have like strict diets and be like really strict on myself. And, so I wasn't taking care of myself. I didn't have these boundaries, and I wasn't able to show up and work. I just felt like at the end, the bottom of the totem pole. And then things were happening in my personal life. I went through a breakup, relationships. If you don't have boundaries with yourself, you won't have them at work, you won't have them with your relationships. And so it began to affect everything. And I got to this rock bottom point where I felt like I need help. God, this is it. Like I'm drowning. So it took me some time, to realize, okay, I can't do this on my own. I'm hard-headed. Like, I don't know, a lot of us may be hard-headed. I got to this rock bottom point, and this was at the end of 2019, 2020, right before COVID hit. And so I'm trying to work through it. I'm trying to do it on my own. I'm trying to figure it out, going through a breakup, trying to start up a business. And then 2020, COVID happens. My mental health was shot. I was like, okay, something needs to change. In order to, get out of that, I then began to seek therapy. I got into therapy and I went every day. And I also had a coach a business coach as well to help me because, we get to this point where we're like, okay, I can do it on my own. I can deal. I see where I can work on, but it really took some extra stretching, some getting out of my comfort zone, getting uncomfortable and asking for help. Therapy, Jesus, a business coach, and really asking my friends and family for help, speaking up. Mental health has been really bad these last couple of years. I've been faking it. I've been smiling, but I can't do this on my own. And so through that process of healing myself, really encompassing what wellness and health and, whole mind, body, soul empowerment, I was then able to see the clarity in my purpose. Then it was all then it started to align what exactly I needed to do. And so that's when I started getting into wellness coaching for healthcare professionals. And so that's a little bit about
I love it. I love it. I love it. And you said so many things because the reality is that, a lot of times we think that we can do it, especially as nurses, we think we can do it on our own. And we don't really, really seek out that help a lot of times. And so what happens is we burn out. Like we're thinking, well, this is normal. This is normal for me to feel this way. And, and a lot of people hit rock bottom and then they kind of stay there. But the reality is that if you hit rock bottom, the only direction to go is up. Right. And so understanding that once you get there, you're going up figure out how you can, that person that can help you, whether
Yeah.
it be business coaching, whether it be coaching from a health aspect, because you said that you were running 5 miles every day on these strict diets, right? So we think that that's good for us, but the reality is that unless you have a negative and a positive with that, right? Because you want to have, it's just like, AC and DC current, right? You want to have a negative and a positive, right? So I'm going to work out 3 days a week or 5 days a week, but then 2 of those days I may not work out. And then I may be very strict 6 days a week, but then that one day I'm going to eat whatever that if it ain't nailed down, I'm eating it, right? Right. And allowing yourself, right, some grace and some mercy.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times what we do is we don't allow ourselves to have that. Now, you said you suffer from depression and anxiety. What were some of the things you did to cope?
Yeah. So going through that time in my life, I don't think I really knew that it was what it was until later on in my nursing career. Nursing school, I was like, okay, this is probably what I'm feeling. And so for me, a lot of times I would literally, like, for me to cope with the depression, um, I wouldn't acknowledge my feelings. It was kind of like a detachment. It was so scary to acknowledge my feelings. And that's something that I work through with my clients as well. Like, feelings are part of you. Feelings are okay. Feelings are your signal. Like, something is going on. Something is, maybe you're tired, you're anxious, you feel nervous about something. Maybe you just have a bad attitude today. Something is going on, but it's not to say that your feelings are that they're so big that you can't control them. Your feelings come from you. And for me, for a long time, I would literally detach or stuff them down by, trying to do something else to distract me, whether it was getting into a relationship with someone, right away and just distracting myself, or, drinking. I would drink like every night, and we know when it's excessive. We're like, okay, moderate, it's cool, but excessive, that's to the point where, I'm just using any excuse to go, exactly. And then also, anything to distract me pretty much. And, honestly, I got to a point recently where I was like, I have never allowed myself to feel my feelings. And I'm working through that with a therapist, and why is it that I don't allow myself to feel my feelings? It's because, it feels too big. And in
Mhm.
reality, those things are part of us. They make us better nurses. They make us better moms. They make us better human beings. God gave us our intuition. Women, our intuition, So it's part of us, and we should, lean into it. And that's something that I'm, working on as well. Like, definitely using your strengths and your weaknesses and honing in on them. Whatever you thought were your weaknesses, like, oh, I'm too much of a nice person, or I'm too sensitive and things like that. No, those are your skills. How do you hone in on them? How do you work on them? How do you strengthen them? So those were some things that I went through, and, the process is still ongoing. The journey is still going on, but I thank God that I'm able to honestly talk about it in a positive way.
But I think that, it's important what you said about your feelings, because what happens is a lot of times we pack our feelings, right? Because we think, okay, this is what society would think, right? This is what society would think. So I'll give you a story about when I was younger. I had we'll call her a friend who rejected me at that time, right? And society, what I thought was society would think that that's no real big deal. You're a kid. She rejected you. It's no real big deal. But the reality is that what I did was literally for years, I packed that. It was more impactful than I really thought that it was, right? Because I thought the that we were going to be friends for a very long time. And what happened was when I packed that, over the years, it was something that affected me because I became, as you said, a people pleaser, right? Because I thought that people would roll out of my life, that they would not be in my life based on what she did or what happened with her, right? And the reality is that that's not the way that it is. I just had to acknowledge the feeling, right?
Mhm.
Acknowledge the feeling, say, this hurt me. It hurt me. I forgive myself for even thinking about it for way too long. Okay. I forgive her
That's
for even acting like that.
a good
Right.
point.
And then just moving on, keep it moving. Right. So I love it. I love it. Now, you found a health coaching program and you said that you were able to recover from your nursing soul. I love that. Now, what are some of the things that you did differently than you did before now?
Yes, and this ties into like what you were just talking about, grace and forgiveness, and really challenging the standards that we see sometimes in society. Something that I'm learning is, addressing our health from the mind, body, soul points of view, the experience or the empowerment, mind, body, soul, empowerment. And not just focusing so much on, whether it be like nutrition or your fitness or, just your mental health, they all are encompassed and, one affects the other. And that's, the holistic part of health. As we know, taking care of patients in the hospital, they come in with one thing and it's like you see everything involved in that, their psychosocial health and, their spiritual health, something, it's not just that one band-aid fix. And so for me, I'm just going through this process of finding out more about mind, body, soul health and, living it out in my life so that I help others. But it's a day by day. I think for me, my spiritual health is so important. Not only my physical health, I do make it a priority to work out at least 4 to 5 times a week, not a day, a week, and making time to show myself actual grace and love, and really changing the narrative in my head, the narrative that I say to about myself to others, and really treating myself kindly. So self-care, and I'm a big person on self-care. It's not just the bubble baths or, the comfy robes or, the days where we just lay on the couch. It's so much more than just, the small cute things we do for ourselves on the weekend. It's, definitely self-care is how you handle yourself, how you treat yourself. Self-care, how are you taking care of yourself, showing your body, mind, and soul abundance, love, and grace in this journey to health, and not just focusing so much on just one thing to feel or to fulfill or to fix everything, because people may focus on the strict diet. Okay, this is going to make me happy. This is going to make me feel fulfilled, and in reality, it's just going to be short-lived. We need to address our whole mental health and, our, spiritual, our financial, our relational health, that's what wellness is about. And I love breaking that down for people, and then they're just like, oh, okay, I get it now. But not in a way to be overwhelmed, but to take it day by day, to take it like, okay, some days I'm going to get things done for me. And some days I may get one thing done for me. And that's been a big thing as well, showing myself grace and love and abundance and, really treating myself right. Or, kinder, I would say, treating myself kinder, but also making lists with my to-do list. Okay, 3 things for my health, 3 things for work or whatever, and then 3 things for me. And if I don't get everything done on that list, okay, that's fine. Tomorrow is a new day. We have a new day, and really delegating. That has been really good for me. Asking for help, like, hey, I need some help, and getting an assistant. I got that recently.
I saw that post. I love it. And one of the things that I had to do as well is I had to get a virtual assistant because and how when you need it, especially in business, is that you start dropping things. Like I was
Mhm.
not making appointments, and that's just not me, right? If we say we're going to be there, we're going to be there, right? And I was not making an appointment. I was like, I need some help here. I need some
Yeah.
help. And so I started doing that. But I think it is important what you said about really, really understanding the whole part of who you are and treating yourself well. And one of the things that you can do as well in treating yourself well is how you self-talk to yourself. Because the reality is that your self-talk is hugely important to who you are. And so you want to make sure that you are speaking life to you, speaking life to your soul, speaking life to who you are. Because if you don't speak life to you, some of the things that we say to each other are things that if other people said those things to us, like we'd be ready to fight, right? But
Mm.
we say it to ourselves all the time. So now, who is someone who has influenced your life and why were they so impactful?
Yes. So this is a good one. There's several people. I mean, I have like a lot of, I love podcasts and I got on yours. So I'm super excited to get on that. Like I'm an avid reader. I love to, just have, always self-growth. It's important. But I think, a good one, there might be several, but I like Dr. Anita Phillips. She has, In the Light. I love that podcast. And she brings on different people all the time. And she gets real with it and she talks about it. And one of the words she uses is generous, being generous with yourself. And that just brought a whole new understanding to self-care. Generous doesn't mean, okay, I'm going to give myself all these, like I'm just going to give myself the whole box. I'm real generous. No, but like being self-aware, what is it that you need, and being really intentional to be self-aware. Like, what is it that I need? Being really generous with how much time you put into finding out what is it that I need, what is going to make me feel, happy, whole, and fulfilled. So I just love that word generous. And then of course, different nurses. I'm a part of Sanciel, and they have like an amazing group of nurses. That the Society of Nurses, Influencers, Entrepreneurs, no, Innovators, but they're influencers, innovators, and it's a really good group. They have so many amazing people. Rebecca Love, Chris Racinos, so many great, amazing nurses that just have opened up my eyes. Like, wow, nurses are so innovative. And of course, my family. I should have sent them first, but I was thinking about someone impactful, and I think about all the self-improvement books or podcasts that I'm listening to, but definitely my family, my sister, my mom, of course, my parents. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. They'll still love you anyway. Now, what is a book that you have read that's been impactful, and why was it so impactful?
So I did say the Boundaries book.
Okay.
Then there's that one was huge for sure. Then Brene Brown, Daring to Lead, about vulnerability. Those are really good for me.
That is really good.
Yeah, like vulnerability is okay. And as healthcare providers, clinicians, I feel like we need to work on that.
Mm-hmm.
We see it as a sign of weakness to open up and be vulnerable, but actually leaders, that's what we need to do for sure. So check out Brene Brown. And then the Rebel Nurse Handbook. That was really good.
I've never heard of that.
Yeah, it's by Sanciel, and that's what got me in. It's by different nurses that have had so many different amazing journeys, but still they push through and to make an impact, to be leaders and things like that. And some people, they have like all the alphabets behind their name. Some people don't. They're just RN, BSN, but they've still made so many impactful moves, and so it's great to hear other nurses out there being innovative and creative, and it just gave me a new light for sure.
And you definitely don't have to have all the letters behind your name in order to be impactful, for sure. So now, where can the audience find you?
Yes, so you can find me on Facebook under Fallon Lopez. I also have a Facebook community, the Nurse Wellness Community, that I'd love to plug in any of your listeners that want more wellness tips, more more support in their wellness journey, I go live inside of there, and hopefully I'll get to have Dr. V in there too. Coming soon. And yeah, so it's a great support and community where you can find out more about wellness and health and be connected with other nurses. I'm also on Instagram. I'm on LinkedIn under Fallon Fallon Lopez on LinkedIn. And then my Instagram is Fallon_wellness coach on Instagram. A lot of things. And then also my website, you can check out areyouwell.com. That is where you can, find me and find out more about my upcoming program that I just launched, the Nurse Wellness Initiative. It's a one-on-one container, a 12-week container where we address the mindset, spiritual health, and self-care to help us live in whole body empowerment. You can check that out on my website, areyouwell.com.
Sweet. I love it. I love it. So I'm just super excited. Thank you for coming on, Fallon. We're intentional about connecting the audience with leaders that have overcome, and you have definitely overcome, and you have shown that the possibilities are endless for sure. So we have a 4-day business challenge on June 8th. It's free, and we will be teaching you business mindset strategies to attract your ideal clients, speaking as another stream of income, and creating multiple streams of income in the power of social media. And so you can go to our website, www.vpnursing.com. And I just ask that you share this podcast, like, share, all of that. And so you guys have a phenomenal rest of your day. And thank you, Fallon.
Thank you.